I knew they were watching me. Every time I streamed, every time I moved, they already knew where I farmed, what I stored, and exactly how poor my base really was. So, when raid time came on the 4th day, I decided to give them something they wouldn't expect. Something bold enough to pull them out, frustrate them, and force them into the kind of mistake you can only make when you underestimate the wrong player. And what followed was exactly why I still love this game. That feeling when the whole server seems to rise against you. When every sound tells you you're outnumbered. When logic says you should already be wiped. And somehow you're still standing, still fighting, still winning. Welcome back everyone to 10 days on official 1111. This is part 2, Be Unraidable. The 3rd day was strangely quiet. Nobody tried to raid me again. And honestly I understood why. Because of the stream, they all knew the truth. My base looked ready for a siege. But inside, nothing. No fortune, no secret stash, nothing worth the effort. The illusion was stronger than the reality. So I went out to scout, and that's when I found their base. Not surprising at all, it was completely illegitimate. A bannable fortress built to hide loot and abuse the terrain, wrapped in massive claim, blocked by ridiculous walls. Everything placed with the same philosophy. We don't want to get raided, ever. We fought a few times around their territory. They used every advantage they had. Weird angles, all of it. But I pushed them enough to make them nervous. Just not enough to make them raid me again. Then day 4 arrived. Raid time was getting close, and I knew this was my moment to provoke something. Since they watched the stream, I built a summoning place 2 hours early. I even named the stream. I tried to make them a surprise. And that was true, just not in the way they imagined. Breaking their base the normal way was nearly impossible. Too expensive, too slow, too laggy. And with players like this, you already know the fight turns into a slideshow of bad decisions and packet loss. But avatars? That was different. If Seth could dance inside their base for just a couple of minutes, he could break benches, crush chests, and scatter loot bags everywhere, assuming they still kept their items inside. So we prepared 2 set avatars, just in case. When we reached the summoning place, it was covered with explosives. Not surprising, I expected it. That's why I had placed a respawn point inside and stored all the tools long before they arrived. And then, the first avatar slipped through the chaos and pushed straight into their base. My goal was simple. Survive a couple of minutes inside their fortress. And somehow, the avatar did exactly that. By the end of those minutes, I was already satisfied. Anything beyond that was just a bonus. The second avatar wasn't as lucky. It triggered the explosives instantly, lost most of its health in the first heartbeat. And barely managed a 1-minute dance. Still, better than I expected. Once the avatars vanished, we pretended to continue the raid. They rushed to defend, and we fought again. And every time they lost a fight, the server froze harder. Leg switching, desync, full server stutters, the usual trilogy. Classic behavior. When players like this get scared, they always fall back on the same cheap tricks. But we stayed in it, and over time, we learned how to fight them even in those conditions. And even with the lag, they died. Some came naked, some came swinging with weapons they had stolen from us. And for a moment I wondered, did the avatars hit something they really didn't want to lose? Since they were watching my stream and knew exactly how little raid material I had left, they grew bold, almost careless, and started building a trebuchet right next to my base. I pretended not to notice, too distracted to react, and I waited until they set the aim. And the moment the first stone flew, I was already moving. By the time it slammed into the roof, I had swapped into encumbrance mode, sprinted out, and tried to pull whatever supplies I still had together. But even with that, they managed to destroy a huge part of my production base. I repaired everything I could reach. Reinforced the hatch doors on the lower levels, checked the safe room, made sure every wall and container inside was holding exactly the way it should. But the production base itself, it just kept collapsing, piece by piece. That's when it finally clicked. Trying to defend the roof, the hatch lines, and the safe room all at the same time made no sense. It was spreading me thin and giving them too many angles. So I made a decision. I dismantled the entire production base myself. Benches, walls, chests, everything. If they wanted to break it, fine, but they weren't going to get anything from it. I saved the trolls, grabbed every piece of loot worth carrying, flattened the roof into a clean fighting platform, and moved all remaining supplies into the core. Once everything was sealed and ready, I took a breath, because the real test was about to begin. Then, out of nowhere, another clan showed up. Jumping off from their trebuchet and trying to defend it, almost as if they were desperate to keep it standing. There was this brief moment of silence when she spotted the newcomers and went straight for them. And while they clashed, I used that tiny window to reinforce the entire hatch frame system. It was just enough time, because a minute later they came back, flying on bats, trying to slip into every weak corner they could find. But I managed to finish reinforcing just before the real pressure started. Explosive arrows, poison arrows, anything they had left. They threw all of it at the safe room, and despite everything, it stayed exactly the way I built it. Safe. After almost half an hour of non-stop explosions, I eventually got bored and stepped outside just to see what they had accomplished. They tried placing bombs everywhere, desperately looking for a weak point. But once the hatch frames fall, they can't place anything anymore. That's the trick, and somehow it took them far too long to figure it out. I reinforced the hatch system again. Then moved around the outside of the safe room, clearing anything that could help them place more explosives. We detonated their leftover bombs. Repaired the walls and kept forcing them to waste resources without getting closer to the core. When I stepped back inside, I noticed a corner of the safe room was missing. My little adventure outside cost me more than I expected. Now they had a gap big enough to slip bombs into. Even though they killed me, I managed to close the hole before it was too late. My bedroll survived, and when I respawned, one of them was trapped inside that tiny 2-meter space. By the time I grabbed a weapon, my Cimmerian troll had already taken care of him. A pure berserker moment. After a few more cycles of repairing and clearing, I replaced the foundation again and sealed the safe room completely. Over 30 minutes passed, and honestly, I was just tired of them. So I decided to surprise them one more time. I pulled out a foundation, shot their explosives, and the entire section went sky high. I fell together with the structure and died on my own terrors. One of them died in the blast. And another was finished off by my Cimmerian. My body stayed untouched. Everything was still there. And I closed the base once again. Reinforced the hatch system one last time. Went back into the safe room and waited. They returned again and again, repeating the same routine. Arrows, bombs, more bombs, but nothing worked. And eventually, the raid ended. They reacted exactly the way I expected. A mix of fair raid attempt and the usual unfair fighting methods. Freezing, lag switching, all the classic tricks. But at least this time, nothing too extreme. And once again, I had become a threat to their bubble. Unraidable for them as legit players. And they knew it. Now I was exactly where I wanted to be. They couldn't legally do anything to me, and I could do whatever I wanted to them. And this is where the story became complicated. So, what did I learn? Arrows work against the avatars. slowly but steadily chipping away at their strength. And the big explosions, they can do serious damage, shifting the course of a fight in just a few moments. As for the server freezing and the lag switching, not surprising, but still something you have to adapt to. From experience, the best way to fight players like this is simple. Lock your target, control your stamina, always keep moving, strike only when the moment feels right. Sometimes you only get one pool of stamina to work with. And my safe room, it performed perfectly, even with a few mistakes. Cheap, simple, defendable alone. Exactly what I needed. Part 2 is over, and the real challenge is just beginning. In part 3, we stop surviving, we stop defending, and we start fighting back. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching. Hit that notification bell so you won't miss part 3. Until then, Exiles, stay sharp, stay smart, and never stop pushing the limits.